And we're back. We are back. Time for the Legal Lounge here on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com. Talking all things legal, all things constitutional with Mr. Richard Nixon. He's a practicing attorney, constitutional scholar, noted author of America, An Illusion of Freedom. Fantastic book. We'll be talking all things legal and all things constitutional. Richard, what a week. We've had quite the week of news, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and I'm very happy for our president.
Yes. The Mueller investigation has seemed to be wrapped up. We're going to be talking about that later on. We're going to be talking about all things Mueller. We're going to be how we got here and where we're moving forward. And also maybe there's going to be some consequences for some certain abuses that people are alleging, specifically Senator Lindsey Graham. He wants to know what is going on with all these FISA warrants regarding the Mueller investigation. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of other stuff. We're going to talk about immigration, of course, one of our frequent topics. We're going to be talking about the census. Big news in the census. Absolutely. Going on with Mr. Carter Page and, Mr. Wilbur Ross, who's the man in charge of the census. We're going to talk about other issues regarding immigration, specifically a recent case that has emerged, Nielsen versus Preap. We're going to be talking about that. But first, breaking news. This just occurred recently. Actor Jussie Smollett, who was facing 19 felony charges for falsifying information, for claiming he was a victim of a racist attack by MAGA hat-wielding ruffians in the city of Chicago. Turns out those allegations were allegedly untrue, that he fabricated the whole thing. And he was facing some pretty severe penalties for that, considering the amount of resources that this investigation consumed. But now, the state attorney of Chicago has dropped all charges, agreed to expunge his record, and forfeit all continuing litigation against Mr. Smollett. And the rumors are flying. Richard, what's your take on all this?
Well, I find it amazing because before I left, I saw on TV where the police commissioner there, who had essentially conducted all the research and filed a complaint with the attorney general and the mayor, were both saying that there's been a disservice here. Further, he still has some problems with federal jurisdiction. He apparently used the U.S. mails to do. He actually allegedly wrote a letter back to himself. So he's not out of the woods yet, and I don't understand what's happening there. Some people have gone so far as to say that the prosecutor is really an anti-Trumper, and because Trump was let off the hook because of the Mueller investigation, that she decided that she's not going to prosecute this man either.
That's very interesting. I've seen a lot of the same take on Twitter here, and this is, both left and right are condemning this decision by the state's attorney. Like you said, Richard, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, the paragon of liberalism. He was Obama's chief of staff. He said, yes, quote, "This is a person who's been let off scot-free. You have a person using hate crime laws to advance your career. Is there decency in this man?" And our girl, Kamala Harris, she just said, quote, "I am completely confused. I don't understand. I don't know the underlying evidence." And she said that she's at a total loss. So very interesting. We're going to be following this case moving forward. Stick around, you guys. We'll be right back right after the break. Short break, 1 minute. We're going to be talking all things legal, all things constitutional. It's Mueller time right after the break, you guys. Stay with us.
Balance of Nature's fruit and veggie capsules contain 100% fine-ripened fruits and vegetables, tested pure with no pesticides, fillers, or additives of any kind, and are the most effective whole food supplements on the market today. You might ask, how can over 10 servings of 31 different fruits and vegetables fit into 6 vegetarian capsules? Fruits and vegetables are on an average 85% water. Balance of Nature uses cold vacuum technology to remove the water, leaving only the whole food. We don't use any heat, air, or light drying methods that damage nutrients. Our cold vacuum technology maintains 99% of the fresh fruits and vegetables' original nutritional value. Along with diet and exercise, Mother Nature provides fruits and vegetables to help us maintain good health.
To order, go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751. That's 1-800-246-8751 and use discount code FLASH.
And we are back. Richard Nixon live here in the Legal Lounge, CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com, broadcasting live coast to coast and around the world on CRNTalk.com, as well as on Facebook.com/CRNTalk, also available on Amazon, Alexa, Amazon Dot. All your smart speakers just say, play CRN1 on TuneIn. We are there everywhere you need to be. Joined by Richard Nixon, noted attorney and author, America, An Illusion of Freedom. And big news, mercy me, big news. President Trump, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, number 45, he has been completely and utterly exonerated of collusion. He's been saying it all since the get-go, that no collusion, and it seems that the Mueller report, this investigation that's lasted over 2 years, $48 million, over 2,500 subpoenas, 500 witnesses. They found, quote, the special counsel's investigation did not find the Trump campaign or anyone associated with it conspired or coordinated with Russia in its efforts to influence the 2016 U.S. presidential election. And also the report states that the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. Richard, just your thoughts right here on this breaking news.
What's important about it is that it was a complete exoneration. That is to say, the court found that the Mueller people found that there was no evidence, as opposed to finding that there was insufficient evidence to bring any kind of charges. So he is totally exonerated from the collusion charge, if you will. However, they were ambivalent about the obstruction of justice. However, on the advice of Professor Hershowitz, I agree with the professor in that the only time you can have obstruction of justice is where there's an ongoing criminal investigation and there's been a crime committed or a wrong committed, and you are interfering with the investigation of that wrongdoing. If there's been no wrongdoing, like in this case, then even if you, quote, interfere to a certain extent, you cannot be interfering, you cannot be obstructing justice, because you're not preventing justice. Justice has already determined that you're not liable.
Yeah, I mean, how could there be obstruction of justice if there's no crime to be committed? Exactly. No crime to cover up.
But the left, of course, is still yelling. They want the complete 700-page Mueller report, which they know, of course, they can't get that. A lot of that is grand jury testimony, which is secret. It's a felony to reveal that, and Chucky Schumer knows that. Now, the president is playing very smart. He's saying he wants all of it out, too, because he doesn't want to appear to be hiding anything. He knows also that you cannot reveal the whole report.
Yes, of course, like you said, Richard, there's statutes codified in the law. I believe it's Section 6C that you cannot divulge grand jury testimony. It is secret and will be secret forever. And I do have to give William Barr, he's acting attorney general. He's the one that compiled this. It's a summary of the report. And he actually, I think he deserves kudos, because he was able to get this summary out within literally, I think, 18 hours when the report was delivered to him. And like you said, Richard, I absolutely, completely exonerated of collusion, and then said, quote unquote, we cannot, we found no evidence to accuse or exonerate whether the Trump administration or any of its surrogates committed obstruction of justice. But like you just said, it makes really no sense if there is no crime.
No,
there can't be a cover-up.
And there's more stuff that might be not disclosed for good reason, because in general, where the prosecutor decides to prosecute, it's unethical for him to reveal evidence that did not point to guilt. In other words, it's unnecessarily damaging people that may have said things against others that are not true, and to reveal everything that everyone said in their investigation is just plain unfair, and it's probably a denial of due process.
And you brought up two very interesting points before the show, Richard, that I think we can connect to this particular issue. Is that the last time we've had this go around, there's two similar experiences we can cite. There was of course, the Ken Starr, Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky scandal that happened last decade, and The Ken Starr's report, which was not summarized by Janet Reno, he wasn't nearly as declarative. And secondly, James Comey, when he was doing an investigation regarding Hillary Clinton and her email server and whatnot, he was he didn't say what he said exactly, that there was possible crimes but not possible enough evidence to convict. Is that correct?
Yes, and a lot of people blame him for Mrs. Clinton's losing the election because it was unnecessary. If he's not going to prosecute, it's unnecessary and it's unfair. It's defamatory, frankly, to reveal the things, the wrongdoings that these people said or did, but to say, but we're not going to prosecute. That is, again, according to Mr. Dershowitz, Professor Dershowitz, this was a mistake for Mueller to do also. He should never have even made the comment that some people think there was obstruction of justice, some don't. He should have never mentioned that.
Yeah, and when this report, Mueller, reading through William Barr's extrapolation of the report, I mean, he was very, very declarative that there was no collusion.
Absolutely.
I mean, in a way that James Comey regarded vis-a-vis Hillary Clinton, and also Ken Starr vis-a-vis Bill Clinton. It's Clintons everywhere. That nowhere is nearly as declarative in terms of no collusion as this Mueller report. And I want to get back to how this kind of all started. I mean, this all started with. I think everybody would agree that the Russian state intelligence apparatus, they meddled with our election.
Yes.
Because that's what they do.
Yes.
I mean, it's a geopolitical issue. I mean, we do it, everybody does it. I mean, it's all part of the game. Whether or not there was any contact or quote-unquote collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russian security apparatus has been proven not to exist.
Yes.
And so now there's an issue of how Mueller, some are saying, Lindsey Graham is saying that he abused his powers under this FISA court. And can you explain to the audience what the FISA court is?
Well, again, it's a federal court that's regarding, mostly set up because of the 9/11 incident, to go after terrorists, where you could go into a secret court, so to speak, to protect the judge, frankly, and the surroundings, if you had some information regarding some communication with the terrorists or with a foreign power. In this case, they were convinced, if you will, somebody was convinced that possibly the Trump administration or Trump campaign, if you will, had been infiltrated by the Russians. And instead of doing what they did with Mrs. Who's our senior senator from California, Feinstein?
Yes.
What they did when they suspected someone had infiltrated her organization, they informed her and told her to look out because this person was maybe a Russian agent. In this case, they didn't alert President Trump. They were, in my mind, hoping to catch President Trump dealing with these people and making a deal to make sure Mrs. Clinton lost. Now, the interesting finding, too, on the Mueller hearing, Mueller decision was that they actually found that the Russians did actually approach the Trump campaign and ask them if they wanted some dirt on them, and they refused.
Yeah, and there's also an original sin, too, about pertinent details about this Steele dossier that was not revealed to the FISA court, which I want to expand on right after the break. You guys stick around. We're talking about the Legal Lounge here. All things legal, all things constitutional here on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com.
Hey Lorraine, do you realize that your mother, my mother-in-law, Chef Maria, has been serving Las Vegas since 1949?
Yes, I do, Dennis. That's when she first met Howard Hughes, who fell in love with her cooking.
And in 1955, she opened her first restaurant on Fremont Street.
Yes, dear. And another great customer was Liberace.
Wow. Then in 1962, while Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack were causing global excitement on the Las Vegas Strip, your family opened their second restaurant.
And in 1972, Elvis Presley began electrifying Las Vegas audiences and eating in our restaurants.
You know, Lorraine, this is quite a town. There's only one Las Vegas.
And there's only one Bootlegger Italian Bistro.
Folks, when you're in Las Vegas, come visit us. We'll make you feel like you're part of our family.
The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, conveniently located at 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard, South Strip. Visit our website at www.bootleggerlasvegas.com.
We are the debt destroyer. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt. Call now to get our free report that tells you how to destroy your debt. It's a great resource. Plus, when you make this free call right now, we'll have a debt destroyer expert ready to help you. They can show you how they can help you destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help you slash your debt. Call right now for free information, including our Debt Destroyer Guide, a $300 value, yours free. Call right now.
800-515-6348. 800-515-6348. That's 800-515-6348.
Hi everyone, this is Fred Dreyer telling you about my favorite Italian restaurant. It's Angelo's and Vinci's in Fullerton, California. Angelo's and Vinci's has the best pasta, the best seafood, the best salad, spaghetti, lasagna, and the most incredible pizza. And the chicken is delicious. Marsala, piccata, cacciatore, parmigiana, and more. For desserts, try our spumoni or our tiramisu, my favorite, flown in fresh from Italy. And the cannolis and the zeppolis are out of this world. Open for lunch and dinner. And don't miss the Sunday champagne brunch, just $23.95. Are you kidding me? It's all up the road from Disneyland at 550 North Harbor Boulevard in Fullerton, California. Angelo's and Vinci's, like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. Call 714-879-4022 or visit us online at angeloandvincis.com.
And we are back. Richard Nixon live here in the Legal Lounge on CRN Digital Talk Radio, crntalk.com, streaming live coast to coast and around the world. Joined by Richard Nixon, noted attorney and author, America, An Illusion of Freedom, available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and as well on iTunes. And we are wrapping this up with the Mueller investigation. Done and done. It seems that there has been a very declarative statement by Mueller after a 2-year investigation, millions of dollars spent, thousands of witnesses and subpoenas, no collusion, just like the president said. And going back to how this all started with something called the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier was a document that was created by Fusion GPS, which is a opposition research firm, a political consulting firm. And when the FISA warrants were initially approved for, I believe, Carter Page, I think he was the first one,
yes,
they used the Steele dossier as evidence. But they left something out, right, Richard?
Yes. They left out the fact that it had been created by the opposition to President Trump. And therefore, they misled the court. And the court is expected, anticipates documents that are presented to it to be fully disclosed as to its source and its neutrality. They failed to do that.
Mm-hmm. And what's another thing that's quite interesting to me is that, okay, so we have no proof of collusion. But we have all of these, the FISA court and the Mueller report, the Mueller apparatus, investigating and convicting several members of Trump's campaign.
Yes.
When, as far as I understand, the Mueller investigation was set up to determine whether or not a foreign power influenced our election.
Yes.
Why is Mueller going after? I mean, Paul Manafort I can understand because he was in contact with Ukraine and all that. But the other guys, Michael Flynn and the rest of these guys, what does that have to do with Russian collusion?
Well, again, it has nothing to do with it. And that's why people were saying that it's just a fishing expedition. They contacted these people, Manafort and so on, Flynn, hoping they could twist them into saying something negative in terms of proving that Trump colluded with the Russians. None of these guys caved in, and because of this, I think a lot of people are speculating that Trump, now that he's free and clear, will probably pardon these people. Mm-hmm. And as we said before, where the president acts fully within his power, such as the pardon power, it doesn't matter what his purpose is. If his purpose is to protect himself, that's perfectly fine. His motives in granting a pardon, which are perfectly proper under the Constitution, cannot be challenged as an obstruction of justice. I should say cannot be properly challenged as an obstruction of justice.
Yeah, and that's interesting you bring that up, Richard. It feeds right into my next point, is that this investigation, the Mueller investigation, really took off in the public sphere after the firing of James Comey.
Yes.
And James Comey, and like you just said, James Comey, just like any other member of the administration, serves at the pleasure of the president.
Right.
And so he has no reason or any legal reason at all to reveal why. And I mean, he said publicly that he felt that James Comey was a terrible FBI director, and many Democrats agreed because
yes,
in the eve of the election, James Comey came out and said to the New York Times, "Oh, Hillary Clinton, she's terrible, she's awful. We are this close to indicting her and all that." And many people think that cost Hillary Clinton the election.
But I think to a certain extent, President Trump was cowed into not firing Comey earlier, because he was afraid of just that someone could misconstrue this as Comey having some evidence against Trump, and that he would be accused of obstruction of justice, when in fact it would not be a valid claim if they did assert it.
And so I guess what we're left now with, well, first off, I have to mention, I think the person that looks the worst here in this entire situation is the media. The media, I mean, I consume a lot of right-wing media and I consume a lot of left-wing media. And Rachel Maddow, MSNBC host and author, she was in tears. And I'm not saying that figuratively. I'm saying that literally. She was in tears on her show on Monday night because she has been the biggest proponent of, she said it's fact that there's this vast conspiracy between Trump and all his surrogates and the GRU. And now to have Mueller, who many on the left would, you see it here in Hollywood, California, everybody with Mueller shirts saying that because he was going to be the savior. He was going to be the one that was going to take down Donald Trump and force his impeachment. Now, I mean, it's all gone.
Well, so you wonder about how intelligent people, in my case, from my observation, could be so misguided. There is a way for the media to deal with these subjects, to show their opinion, without being such advocates against the president. I think, frankly, it's a shame that they could get no one yesterday that I could see on the other side, that is to say, never Trumpers or on the other in the other party, to say, aren't we grateful, though, that no one did collaborate with the Russians, including our president? We should be proud of the fact that none of us caved.
Yes.
Instead, they're unhappy that he wasn't convicted, if you will.
Yeah, we'll be right back, you guys, right after the break, talking to Richard Nixon, all things legal, all things constitutional, here in the Legal Lounge on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com. Stay with us.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies in a capsule.
I was singing in the shower, singing El Solo Mio. Oh, Solo Mio. As I was singing Mio, I sneezed. So I'm drying up, and I sneeze again, and I blow my nose. A whole bunch of stuff comes out. I'm suddenly realizing that I am breathing out of my nose the best I've ever breathed out of my nose in years. I don't think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden now I'm breathing. What has happened in the past year? I'm a balance of nature. Little by little every day, if I experience it, I'm happy. I'm sure this has to do with the balance of nature. I'm sure it does.
When you call, use discount code FLASH, and we'll take 20% off any first preferred order of Balance of Nature and have it shipped to you free. Call 1-800-246-8751. That's 1-800-246-8751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com and use discount code FLASH.
Destination South Point. 11 great restaurants, bingo, bowling, movies, race books, sports books, spa, live entertainment, oversized rooms, and the rates unbeatable. The South Point Las Vegas. Book now. Online at southpointcasino.com or call 866-791-7626. southpointcasino.com or call 866-791-7626. At the South Point Las Vegas, you're always a winner.
Hi, everyone. This is Fred Dreyer telling you about my favorite Italian restaurant. It's Angelo's and Vinci's in Fullerton, California. Angelo's and Vinci's has the best pasta, the best seafood, the best salad, spaghetti, lasagna, and the most incredible pizza. and the chicken is delicious. Marsala, piccata, cacciatore, parmigiana, and more. For desserts, try our spumoni or our tiramisu, my favorite, flown in fresh from Italy. And the cannolis and the zeppolis are out of this world. Open for lunch and dinner, and don't miss the Sunday champagne brunch, just $23.95. Are you kidding me? It's all up the road from Disneyland at 550 North Harbor Boulevard in Fullerton, California. Angelo's and Vinci's, like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. Call 714-879-4022 or visit us online at angeloandvincis.com.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. They want your money, and guess what? They can legally take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you. So what do? Fight back by letting our team of experts at the tax helpline work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws and will fight to save your money. So if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket.
800-932-1597. 800-932-1597. 800-932-1597. That's 800-932-1597.
Enjoy Tiki Live, the best cable alternative choice today, with hundreds of premium live TV programming, including ESPN, CNN, Fox News, Disney, AMC, Bravo, XF, OWN, and CRN Talk. Plus no contracts and low month-to-month service. Tiki Live, servicing North America, including the Caribbean. To get started, visit TikiLive.com to order hundreds of channels, including CRN Talk, at a fraction of what you're paying today. Visit TikiLive.com. That's TikiLive.com.
And we are back. Richard Nixon live here in the Legal Lounge on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com. So just to wrap this up real fast, right before the break, Richard, you said something interesting about there's a lot that the media is culpable for in this terms of this Mueller and Russia investigation. But I do have to give a shout out to two particular journalists on the very, very far left. The Intercept's Glenn Greenwald and Rolling Stone's Matt Taibbi. Both of them, since day one, and these guys are card-carrying far-left liberals, and they, from the get-go, said that there was no evidence of collusion. They have extensive sources in Russia, especially Matt Taibbi. He's actually lived in Moscow for several years. And they've been screaming it from the rooftops, saying that this is a red herring, that this is going to make liberals look bad.
Yes.
It's going to make liberal media look bad, and they were completely right.
Yes, and to add to that list is Alan Dershowitz, who is, again, about as left as you can get. He admitted that he voted for Mrs. Clinton, so he's certainly not a Trump fan, but he's been saying all along, too, that this is simply not right. And he was also upset at the Kavanaugh hearings as well. He said what they're doing there is literally denying this man due process. So this is what we need, frankly, in the Supreme Court, is people who have their personal leanings but are able to divorce that from their logic and truth and probably fulfilling the wishes of the people who drafted the Constitution.
Absolutely. We have another interesting case, speaking of the Supreme Court, that is, this initially case came out of the Ninth Circuit, our friends in the Ninth Circuit, friends of the show, and this is regarding the U.S. Census. So the U.S. Census is the way that we count people every 10 years to determine how many representatives get sent to Congress. And so Wilbur Ross, he is the HUD director. He wants to include a question that's been asked pretty much since the founding of this country up until 1950. He wants to ask whether or not the person's living in the household, that's how the census works, it's done by household, is the person a citizen of the United States? And this is the question. Is this person a citizen of the United States? And then there's several sub-options you can choose from. Yes, born in the United States. Yes, born in Puerto Rico, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, or Northern Marianas. Yes, born abroad of U.S. citizens' parents or parents. Yes, U.S. citizen by naturalization, and then you have to add your year of naturalization. And then no, not a U.S. citizen. Doesn't say anything about illegals, doesn't say anything like that.
Exactly.
This is done solely for representational purposes, but the Attorney General of California, Mr. Barrera, I believe that's his name, he is upset and he is sued.
Yes, and this is not his only lawsuit, but again, the whole point of the census is to determine the number of people that are here for two reasons, at least. One is the federal government doles money back to the states based upon population. Mm-hmm. And also, when it comes to voting, we have our electoral college. The electors are based upon the number of citizens. If we include non-citizens in our electoral college, we're basically permitting non-citizens to vote. And I think no one would argue that the Founding Fathers, when they put this Constitution together, ever considered permitting non-citizens to vote. So there is a good reason for why the government needs to know not only the total population, but how many of the population are citizens.
And so what the California Attorney General, Xavier Becerra, he's the one he said he's following the suit against this quote-unquote illegal policy change. The rationale, he said, is because this would put immigrants back in the shadows, that people, legal immigrants or immigrants in general, would not want to participate in the census of fear of exposure and possible sanction by the government if you're here illegally. But what you said is very interesting, Richard, is that this actually, by having illegal immigrants or immigrants in general represented in higher numbers, that actually takes rights and sovereignty away from actual citizens.
Absolutely. If you can compare a state, let's say that their electoral college is composed of all citizens. There are no non-citizens in that state. They have so many electors in the electoral college. If you compare that to states like California, where maybe 25% of the electoral numbers are comprised of non-citizens, then those non-citizens are taking advantage. They have an advantage over the citizens, so to speak.
And you brought an interesting statistic to bear with this, that if you substitute all the immigrants, illegals, and whatnot from California's census numbers, California's electoral numbers, which we are at 54 delegates, would actually be closer to 50.
That's exactly right. And of course, because that number is the number that the federal government uses to dole money out to the states, it's important that the states have the highest number they can, which is why Becerra, being a Californian, wants the maximum bucks for the state. I don't fault him for that. But the other problem, like I said, is that number is also used for the electoral college, and people who are here who are non-citizens, whether they're legal or illegal, should not be in that count regarding the electoral college.
And one thing, Richard, that this is why the reason I love doing this show is because you kind of put out the framework, and it allows me to do a lot of research to educate my particular self. This
and you do an excellent job.
I appreciate that, sir. And this California Attorney General Xavier Becerra, he is dead wrong about this, about illegal immigrants being forced back into the shadows, because under statute, codified by law, that the Census Department cannot share any demographical data to any agencies outside the census. Only there's one period in history between 1941 and 1947 under the great liberal lion FDR, where they did use census information to inter Japanese people. But ever since, and that was under the War Powers Act. Ever since 1947, though, codified by law that the census data cannot be used by any other agency, that includes ICE, that includes DHS, that includes the DOJ, or the FBI, can use any of that demographical data for any of their law enforcement activities. And so that's kind of a moot point. And the last time that the FBI actually tried to get census data, I believe it was in 2001, regarding a terrorist case, the Census Department turned them away. And so that's kind of a red herring.
Yes. And again, this federal judge in California, Justice Seaborg, basically said that the inclusion of that question would materially harm the accuracy of the census without advancing any legitimate governmental interest. Well, I disagree with that. There is a legitimate governmental interest, and that is for the government to have an accurate count on the people who are in this country, whether they're citizens or non-citizens. Remember, We're not asking about legality.
Yes.
We're only asking about citizenship.
Yes.
So there's nothing wrong with saying you're here, but you're not a citizen. That's perfectly proper.
Yes, seems all above board to me. We're going to be right back, you guys, talking more here in the Legal Lounge on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com.
Hi, this is Fred Dreyer, former Rams defensive end. Football season just ended, and you can bet teams are already hard at work scouting new talent for next season. But if you're running a small business, you need to know where to go to find top recruits. LinkedIn. It's where people go every day to make connections, grow in their careers, and discover new job opportunities. LinkedIn Jobs takes the time to learn more about who you're looking for and then recommends the qualified candidates you want to spend time talking to make a quality hire you're excited about. Customers rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires, and posting your job on LinkedIn gives you the best chance of finding and starting a conversation with your next star recruit. It's no surprise a new hire is made every 8 seconds using LinkedIn. So build your winning team by posting your job opportunity on LinkedIn and visit linkedin.com/solution. Get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/solution. Terms and conditions apply.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
And we are back. Richard Nixon live here in the Legal Lounge, talking all things legal, all things constitutional. Big week in the news. Give us a call, 818-818-6401, or shoot Richard an email, richardnixon@crntalk.com. Also, drop us a note on Facebook, facebook.com/crntalk. And this is an interesting case that kind of speaks to what we were just talking about, immigration and the census. But this is regarding this particular case, Nielsen versus Preap. Nielsen versus Preap, that's Preap. And the issue at hand here is that the Supreme Court, they were speaking to a case that was originally adjudicated in the United States Court of Appeals, the Ninth Circuit, once again, the swinging Ninth Circuit. And they needed to, the Supreme Court was trying to interpret the statutory construction of 8 U.S.C. 1226, which states that the government can begin deportation proceedings against criminal aliens. And give us some more background here, Richard, and why this is important moving forward.
Yes, well, in this particular case, the court was to determine the meaning of the following, that the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security is able to arrest a deportable immigrant when the alien is released from jail. Now, the dissent argued that that meant immediate. That is to say, when this person has served his time in jail, the arresting authorities, the federal arresting authorities, must then arrest that person. At that time, they can hold him in custody until they deport him. Now, so they were saying, and Alito said it was ridiculous to say, well, does that mean that if the arresting authorities don't get there till after midnight, that it's too late and this person goes free and cannot be arrested? He said, I don't think that the drafters of this meant when to be so immediate. And he basically argued, in fact, the name of the case, as described in the Daily Journal, is an adverb cannot modify a noun, thus mandatory detention provision applies. So the point is, it became a grammatical exercise when you read the case. Coming down, though, I think, on the on the right side, if you will, because this is a good case for when the law, as observed by the Supreme Court, appears to be ambiguous. That is to say, what does the word when mean? And very briefly, Mike, let me start off by saying that this appears in almost every case that results in a statutory interpretation, whether it's state or federal, and it basically says, our fundamental task in construing a statute is to ascertain the legislative intent so as to effectuate the purpose of the law. And because the statutory language ordinarily is the most reliable indicator of legislative intent, we begin by examining the words of the statute. Mm-hmm. And now, if those words turn out to be ambiguous, that's when we use other devices, one of which is the structure or the statute that this sentence is a part of. What is the purpose of this statute that this particular issue is a part of? And reading that, they said it's clear that they were not preventing the arresting authorities from arresting any time after the release.
Yes, and on this show we've spoken a lot about legislating from the bench, and we have to say what U.S. Code 1226 comes from the Immigration and Nationality Act, colloquially known as the INA, which was passed by both houses of Congress and signed by the president. And we often, we lament that oftentimes the Supreme Court is making law, but they're not making law in this case. They're, like you said, they are extrapolating what the legislative intent is. And if you read the statute, the INI, there's no question that this is what the spirit of the law was going for. And like you said, it's about grammar. I mean, as Alito noted in his opinion, that writing for the court, he says that, quote, when released language did not require that the government either immediately detain any non-citizen released from criminal custody or lose the power to subject the person to mandatory detention. Rather, Alito concluded that the text of the provision and the policy driving, there it is, the legislative intent, policy driving, its enactment means that detention was mandatory for a non-citizen arrested at, quote, any time after release from custody, including years later.
Yes, otherwise, as Alito also pointed out, with the sanctuary cities and the fact that the cities in some states will actually prevent the INS or other arresting authorities from coming in contact with this person who's served his time, so to speak, having such definite line after which you cannot be arrested makes no sense. And again, the whole point of the statute is, if you will, to permit the INS or other arresting authorities to hold these people. Now remember, these are criminals, illegals who have just served their time in jail. They can be held again now without a hearing until such time as they're deported. Now that works a great service toward cleaning out these sanctuary cities. That is to say, if the INS goes into the sanctuary cities, a stronghold, and finds anybody who's got an arrest record, who's finished his time, so to speak, he can be arrested and held till he's deported.
Yeah, and Justice Alito, I mean, he provides relief in certain cases here, in his opinion. He also indicated that in cases where mandatory detention seemed arbitrary, a non-citizen might be able to mount an as-applied challenge to 1226 under the Due Process Clause. And so there's, it always works out. There's always ways where, people can get relief if justice deserves, if that relief is deserved.
And this is another case of the Supreme Court reversing the Ninth Circuit, which we've talked about before. And before we leave the subject, Mike, it's also clear here that last year in a 5-3 decision, the High Court reversed the Ninth Circuit again after the Ninth Circuit determined that federal law allows immigrants in custody for deportation proceedings to appear for bail hearings. Well, the kibosh has been put on that because that's the point. They don't have to be released. They can be held till they're deported. That should maybe discourage people from coming over the border.
All right, we'll be right back right after the break. Wrap things up here in the Legal Lounge on CRN Digital Talk Radio, crntalk.com. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. Michael Horn from crntalk.com. We provide you with the best in talk radio. 8 channels of talk radio, from radio on the left, radio on the right, sports talk, business talk, religious talk, Spanish talk, you name it, we've got talk radio for you. All at crntalk.com. Well, now we'll bring you video as well as audio. That's right. Watch your favorite shows like The Robert Conrad Show, The Fred Dreyer Program, What's Cooking Today, What's Cooking on Wine, The Lounge, and so many other shows in video. right at our website, crntalk.com. You can also watch us on Roku. Just search CRN Talk, and you can watch us on Roku on any TV anywhere in the world. Also on Facebook Live. Go to facebook.com/CRN Digital Talk. Facebook.com/CRN Digital Talk. Roku, search CRN Talk. Check us out on Tiki Live and at crntalk.com. Video for you talk fans, all from CRN Talk.
We are the debt destroyer. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt. Call now to get our free report that tells you how to destroy your debt. It's a great resource. Plus, when you make this free call right now, we'll have a debt destroyer expert ready to help you. They can show you how they can help you destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help you slash your debt. Call right now for free information, including our Debt Destroyer Guide, a $300 value, yours free. Call right now.
800-515-6348. 800-515-6348. That's 800-515-6348.
When you really want Italian food, you've got to get to Columbo's. Columbo's Italian Steakhouse and Jazz Club, Colorado Boulevard, Eagle Rock. It's that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Seekers of luscious and appetizing gustatorial pursuits, indulge your fancies with steaks so absolutely yum-yum. Vegetarians have forsaken kale and Pilates and never look back. Fish specialties so fresh and delicious and chosen by King Neptune himself, and relish Columbo's Italian family specialties so delectable you'll be yelling out, "Bravo, bravo!" And let's not forget Columbo's world-famous meatballs, and you've got to try their breakfast pizza. Oh, and jazz every night. Service that's friendly, not phoning, and at a price that'll keep you coming back. That's Columbo's, that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Columbo's, Manja.
And we are back. Richard Nixon live here in the Legal Lounge, CRN Digital Talk Radio, crntalk.com, streaming live coast to coast and around the world. All previous sessions are available on YouTube. Just search Richard Nixon or CRN Digital Talk on YouTube. Also, we're available on Facebook, facebook.com/CRN Talk. And make sure to visit Richard's personal website at www.pres37th.wix.com/America, or just search Richard Nixon America Illusion Freedom on your Google machine. And so, Richard, much to the chagrin of many of my brothers and sisters on the left, Donald J. Trump, number 45, has had a pretty heck of a week. I mean, he has absolved of collusion. He had this recent case we just talked about regarding illegal immigration. He's getting his census question, and the stock market is surging. What's your take here?
Well, again, as you said, he's had a great week. He's had two Ninth Circuit decisions that originally were against him reversed in his favor. That is the citizenship question and the incarceration question, again, if you will. And this is one more tool in his toolbox, so to speak, to clear this country of, quote, bad people that we don't need. People who are here as illegals and who have also committed crimes. Quite frankly, we don't need those people in our midst. And I think he recognizes that, and he's doing what he can legally, constitutionally, to rid this country of those people.
And because there's plenty of law-abiding immigrants who are standing at the window waiting to get into this country to contribute to society in any means possible to gain citizenship and lead fruitful lives. You know who's had a bad week, though, Richard? Michael Avenatti. Michael Avenatti's had a pretty rough week. Michael Avenatti, of course, Stormy Daniels' former attorney regarding her lawsuit against Donald Trump. He has been charged with trying to extort $20 million from Nike. This is how it worked. As any sports fan out there knows, there's been kind of a scandal regarding NCAA basketball with bribes being paid between coaches and players, AAU coaches and whatnot. Mr. Avenatti said that he had some damning information regarding Nike and this scandal, and so he called up Nike. He said, hey, Nike, I have this damning information about you guys. What I want you to do is I want you to hire me as an independent investigator to come in and run an internal investigation. And by the way, I'm going to charge you $15 million. Nike didn't like that. They got the FBI on the phone, and they got Mr. Avenatti in hot water. Let me ask you as an attorney. We've talked about Mr. Avenatti on this show before, and probably this will be the last time because he's going to the big house. As an attorney, this has got to be not only illegal but unethical. I mean, this is a disbarment at best and prison at worst, wouldn't you say?
Well, I hate to see a fellow attorney/Italian in trouble again, but we have to look at the term extortion. And that really, at least in California, it's defined as obtaining something by force, threats, or other unfair means. Now, it's very possible, and it's happened to me before, where I was criticized by the state bar for, or at least charges were brought against me for threatening someone, and what I was really threatening them with was the lawsuit. I said, if you don't do so-and-so, we're going to have to file a lawsuit against you. Well, that person went to the state bar and said he threatened me, and the court said the state bar looked at the facts, and of course they totally exonerated me, saying that's a legal threat, so to speak. So before I pass judgment on Mr. Avenatti, I think we have to find out. You say that it was recorded, so that's pretty hard to beat, I think. But being a spin master that he is and being an attorney that he is, he may be able to weasel out of this thing. I'm surprised that his attorney, Garregos, is also part of it.
Yeah.
That was really surprising because neither one of those guys are fools.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I don't get it.
Yeah, we're going to be checking in on this in the future. Very interesting to see. Thank you, Richard, so much for being here. Thank you so much for all the listeners around the world and coast to coast. Like I said, all available episodes of this fine quality program available on YouTube. Just search Richard Nixon, CRN Digital Talk on YouTube. Richard, until next week, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll talk to you guys next week here in the Legal Lounge on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com.
CRN Digital Talk Radio prides itself on being the state